2-0 start to start the season. I'm sure you got to be happy just at how it resulted.
No question. We're obviously very excited and happy to come home 2-0 for myself. This being the third year, and there's 3 or 4 players who've been here now for 3 years, and just we had never had success against both Western Washington or Seattle Pacific. So it was certainly nice to go on the road, and most importantly, it was just a good test for us in a lot of different ways, and we learned a lot about ourselves this past weekend, and now we're going to be working this week just to fix some of the issues that we had to get better before we approach the tournament this weekend.
In both games, what were the opponents' approach? And we know that it's not the full roster that they want, but coaches, do you feel like they try to up tempo maybe to see if they can kind of tire you out and kind of work that at all?
I don't know, to be honest with you, if that was what their philosophy was going into the game, but obviously we look to play an up-tempo game as well, so nothing is really changing on our end. And it was interesting because both Western Washington and Seattle Pacific kind of play a different style, meaning they do play up-tempo, but they have 2 bigs, 2 post players that play on the inside where we typically don't. So it was definitely 2 different styles facing each other, and as I told the girls, I felt that our style was to our advantage going into those games, and it worked out that way.
Yeah, you told me too that, man, it doesn't matter how many players you have on the bench or your size, but it's the players that have out there. I mean, so far, so good, huh?
Yeah, there's no question about it. And again, your starting 5 players should be playing high minutes. They should be playing 30-something minutes probably in a game. So it doesn't really matter to us how many players that we have. We want to get the most out of. And in the first game against Western Washington, everybody contributed. And the second game, it was just a little bit of a different style. But we certainly anticipate using everybody. And as I keep saying, we all have to play our part and contribute in some capacity.
What did you like? What did you see out there that you like that really put a smile on your face?
Of course, I come home with the good and the bads. I thought we definitely played better the first night against Western Washington. The second night, the first half, and I shared this with the girls at halftime, was probably one of the worst halves that I'd seen one of our teams here at Humboldt State play. The positive thing was we went into halftime with our backs against the wall, and the girls really responded. We came back the second half and put a very solid half together. Obviously got ourselves out of the hole, and with Lexi Thrower making those free throws at the end, we came home with the victory. So there was certainly a lot of positive signs. We had a good film session yesterday to learn things that we didn't do so well, that we just really have to clean up to become a better basketball team.
You talk about Thrower, you saw what she's done so far at home, and then the 2 games. Talk about the player that she is. Talk about what you expect for her to contribute to this Jacks team.
Well, there's no question she's a gifted, talented individual. Right now, I think just the learning curve and her getting accustomed and used to being in a structured system. She had a lot of success at her junior college, and just off of her natural ability, but being in a system and being in structure is usually always an adjustment for new players. And she's having great success right now on the floor, and I told her yesterday, you're doing a lot of good things right now, but you can be special. And she, along with everybody else, still has some things to clean up, especially on the defensive end, just on how we do things. But she's learning each and every game, and I think this was a great test for her. At this level, play 2 games back-to-back, and just really adjusting to what our expectations are. That's usually the biggest transition for new players, whether it be her or Tiana or Gabby. Just the expectations are always very, very high in our program. So now we come home, and of course we're great, happy with the 2 wins, but I'm seeing a lot of things, deficiencies. I'm seeing a lot of weaknesses that occurred this past weekend. So we just have a lot of things to clean up and constantly raising the bar on the team.
Who knows where you guys, Seattle Pacific, Western, will be a month from now, 2 months from now. But if they have good seasons when it comes to later in the year, when it comes to seedings and all that stuff, how important could those wins be? Even though it's the start of the season, but how important could it be later in the year?
Huge. And I've shared this every year with the team, just as far as having an understanding of how a team makes it to postseason play, whether it be winning the conference tournament championship like we did last year, but you want to put yourself in a position where if you unfortunately don't do that you're still going to be in the top 8 in the region. And so that's why we schedule these regional games in the preseason. All of our non-conference games, if you notice, are regional games, and that's obviously on purpose, because I want us, and you have to win. It certainly helps when you beat regional games because, like you said, Western Washington and Seattle Pacific are both two strong programs. Traditionally, they do very, very well. So now at the end of the season, now we got to pull for them to have great years. And it hopefully helps us at the end of the year when the committee is looking at large berths into the NC2A tournament.
So now this week, we'll go into the Bay Area now and more opponents. Obviously, you want to continue that winning, but what do you want to see from your squad this week?
Again, we had a film session yesterday, and it's just learning from the good and the bad from this past tournament, and really sharing and expressing to the girls that there's certain things that we didn't do so well. For example, we had poor starts in both games, coming out of timeouts, just little detail things that we have to learn from, and we can't have these same mistakes to continue on. So we need to have 2 solid days of practice this week as we get ready for Notre Dame and Dominican. But as I told the team, it right now, in my opinion, it's more cleaning up what Humboldt State needs to do rather than the opponent per se. And we just got to be way more efficient on both ends of the floor.
My last question, the coaching, the teams here at Humboldt State, it's a family, and I know you're focused on women's basketball right now, but we had the football program, played their final game over the weekend, and they won. But from a coaching standpoint, how, I don't want to say disappointing or difficult, but when you have a team that's going away, how does that make you feel? Being a part of the Humboldt State family.
It makes me sad. It really does. In fact, I was in my hotel room. Obviously, us being at Western Washington, we were only an hour away from Simon Fraser. I really wish it would have worked out where we could have gone and support the guys, but I was in my hotel room getting ready for our game, and I had the computer on, and I was watching our game against Simon Fraser, and of course, as always, pulling for a victory, but it was certainly bittersweet. Very happy for the guys that they at least got to go out and the coaches go out with a victory, but it's been such a big part of this athletic program, and to think of Redwood Bowl being empty now and just the community and everything, it's something that, whether it be from a recruiting standpoint, a plus for the university, or obviously as a coach, your heart goes out to those coaches and to the guys, and I think they handled everything as good as they could possibly handle this year, and I'm really proud of them for doing that, and just keeping their head above water and doing the best that they could. And that was a very, very difficult situation that I thought they handled to the best of their ability.
Sounds good. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, just not sure, but Alexia Thrower was the MVP of the tournament, and Tyra Turner and Maddie Hatch also actually both made all tournament. So that was great to see some individual success, and hopefully they can continue those to help us have some more team success. And outside of that, we're just getting ready for Notre Dame, and like I said, we have to have 2 really solid practices. There's 3 weeks here that we're traveling, and the girls, it's keeping up with schoolwork, and 3 weeks of travel back to back to back is tough, and we just got to really stay, as I say, laser focused on the task at hand.
Sounds good.
I got a quick question for you. I'm going to throw some numbers at you. So 3 years since you've beat Western Washington, 5 years since you've beat Seattle Pacific, and 7 years since you've started 2-0 off this tournament going into the season. What are you, sky's the limit. What are you thinking, and what are you feeling in terms of, going up from here or going on the road again from here? Do you have confidence in your girls despite what you feel they could improve on?
Right. Well, I told the team yesterday that, there was obviously a lot of positives again from this weekend as well. We just beat 2 really strong programs. It's great for our program that we can go up to Washington and get those 2 wins, but I felt like we were, maybe 20% of what we're capable of being, which is obviously very encouraging. To think that here we are on the road early in the season pulling off 2 wins against 2 tough teams, what does that mean as far as where we can be in February, where we can be at the beginning of March? So yes, we have a lot of things to clean up, but I think we just really touched upon a very small percentage of where this basketball team can go, which is very exciting. And again, we just got to work to get better each day. We want to continue, especially I'm always emphasizing defense, and so I was a little disappointed in some defensive things this past weekend, and we want to just fix those slippages, as we say, and those weaknesses, because that's where it's going to come down to, is we just got to be a much stronger defensive basketball team.
The right answer was, because we got to fly from Medford to